Hello there and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we will be talking about the Middle-earth games. More specifically Shadow of War and its retcons both within itself and in its relation to Shadow of Mordor. For starters, let's take the ending of Shadow of Mordor. In Shadow of Mordor we learn at the end that Celebrimbor plans to leave for the Blessed Realm with Talion, but Talion urges Celebrimbor to forge the new ring. However, in Shadow of War all the blame is pinned on Celebrimbor's shoulders, ignoring or outright forgetting that it is Talion who pushed the Elf Lord into making it. Now we move on to the next point. In the Shadow of War we meet a famous character portrayed both in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's Legendarium. Shelob. In the game Shelob is described as a Maya Lesser Angels in Tolkien's Legendarium, who is capable of shapeshifting. When the Bright Lord meets her, she steals Celebrimbor and demands Talion to give her the new ring or he may never see the Ringmaker again. Talion agrees and he gives it to her. Now this is where the inconsistency appears. In the Shadow of War trailer Shelob takes Celebrimbor from the Ranger, but the moment Talion puts the new ring back on his finger, his mortal wounds are closed off, indicating the fact that Talion needs the new ring to not die and not requiring Celebrimbor's bond, given the elf Wraith himself admitted he poured all his life force into the new ring. This completely contradicts the aspect of the storyline where Talion is capable of surviving without the new ring and merely having Celebrimbor at his side. For the next part of the video, let's talk about the servants of Sauron. The Nazgul. In the game Shelob informs Talion that had not Celebrimbor betrayed Talion they would have ended up dominating Sauron and his armies. Now here comes the inconsistent aspect. Whenever Talion faces the Ringwraiths and defeats them Celebrimbor banishes them. And when that happens, in the process we are led into the minds of these Dark Knights and we find out things about their past. So how would Talion keep going in the supposed original timeline of dominating Sauron if he would always end up receiving visions about the Nazgul? The answer is simple. There has been a massive change in the plot of Shadow of War. Now one of Shelob's visions is what really captured my attention. It is about the vision in which the Bright Lord dominates Sauron, or supposedly does that. In this scene, after Talion receives the Elven Ring, he has a vision where the Bright Lord dominates Isildur and together they face Sauron, who bows to them with an offer. A ring of power. Two questions remain. What ring is that? And who does it belong to? Also, judging from the vision, it seems Sauron is only doing one of his schemes to enslave Talion and Celebrimbor. Let's explore this from a budget standpoint of view. All visions in the Shadow of War are still taking place within the game. The money put there and therefore the assets were still used and not cast aside. However, in this case, doesn't it seem strange that the producers would put time and effort into an animation that ultimately serves no real purpose? Let's explore this from a budget standpoint of view. All visions in the Shadow of War are still taking place within the game. The money put there and therefore the assets were still used and not cast aside. However, in this case, doesn't it seem strange that the producers would put time and effort into an animation that ultimately serves no real purpose? Unless something changed during the development of the video game. That could explain as to why the final boss battle feels so unpolished and not satisfactory. The most likely route of the original intent was that it would have ended with Celebrimbor and Talion banishing Sauron's spirit and with Celebrimbor becoming the new Lord of Mordor. This potentially could have only been achieved with Celebrimbor and Talion using not just the new ring but also Sauron's ring he intended as offer to them. However, the developing team must have thought that by doing so it would destroy the major theme in Tolkien's stories where fighting evil with evil never ends in a happy ending. So either by banishment or domination, the initial intent was supposed to end with the player defeating Sauron and taking over his armies. Thank you for watching this video. I hope we see each other again. Stay tuned for more.
You have no claim, deceiver! I am the true Lord of the